a giant storm of a topic to cover for today's video, as it appears that unfortunately for thousands of cruise ship passengers from around the United States going to places like the Caribbean, or at least planning to, in which it unfortunately failed, they have now become privy to the fact that when it comes to sailing to a tropical climate, regardless of the year, and even though hurricane season has technically come to an end, things can be somewhat unpredictable. I'll explain what I mean in this video. There's also some small lessons to take away from this as well, and by the way, I do know I've been MIA when it comes to the cruise news on at least two of my channels, and well, as many of you know, I've been doing a lot of traveling lately, going back and forth. Just got back from Europe 2 days ago, spending time with family for this holiday season, and just kind of reorganizing for 2024. However, I've got everything set up. I've got the editors ready to go, so let's keep this thing a-moving.
Vacationers who sailed out of Charleston on a cruise ship say that their cars were destroyed during a storm on Sunday.
News 2's Jordan Sahopa heard from one of those passengers about what they say happened and has the story.
A woman who was just on the Carnival Sunshine this past weekend is back home now, but without one important belonging, her car. She says she and other passengers returned from their vacation only to find their vehicles flooded from Sunday's storm. Stephanie Royal and her husband were all smiles Thursday before heading to the Bahamas on the Carnival Sunshine. When they returned to Charleston Monday, it was a different story.
When we got to the parking lot, we basically were told that nobody's cars would start, that they had been flooded.
The parking lot belonging to the South Carolina Ports Authority flooded during the nor'easter on Sunday, along with many of the cars. Royal says passengers were stuck in the lot for hours, figuring out what to do next.
There was a couple of people in the parking lot that had gone around trying to jumpstart cars, but the only ones that would jumpstart was the older models.
Between a rideshare, rental car, and tow truck, Royal tells News 2 getting home cost her an additional $700. The couple is back in North Carolina, but without their car.
Being the fact that you come back from a vacation to find your car totaled, made for a pretty rough trip.
A spokesperson with the South Carolina Ports Authority says they do not assume liability for vehicles left in the passenger parking areas. They stated their team worked closely with passengers, saying in part, quote, "Port staff worked around the clock to call tow companies on behalf of passengers, assist with jumping vehicles and pumping out water, and helping them find transportation to area hotels," end quote. Royal says she wishes the situation had been handled differently.
Not so much financially, but it would have been nice to have that transportation to the airport or somewhere that we could have gotten additional help, like a rental car or even a flight home.
That was just one event that took place due to storms. The Carnival Sunshine didn't exactly have a bright and sunshiny day. The sun was not shining on that particular cruise. I will elaborate further as far as what happened in a minute here. However, when it comes to the past week or so, there's been other situations. We had the Margaritaville at Sea Paradise cruise ship that was stuck over in the Caribbean for an extra couple days. Sounds nice, however, people have to get to work and whatnot, and they have to get back to family and the kids, and it just became a giant conundrum. The sailing after that was also canceled. We had a situation with the Carnival Freedom that is in the process of doing a cruise to nowhere, unheard of, at least in the United States. We also have a situation when it comes to an MSC ship, the MSC Meraviglia, that had to reroute its entire itinerary set for a cruise going to the Bahamas, and well, now you have a situation where they ended up having to go north to do a Maine and Canadian cruise. Here is the issue when it comes to all of these changes and unfortunate situations with these cruises that had to deal with storms. Of course, it is an unfortunate situation, and we all know that that can't be controlled. We don't have a weather machine, or who knows, maybe there is one somewhere, however, but we won't discuss that here. We're not putting on our tinfoil hat today. However, the main issue is that people are very angry about all of these instances that took place. For example, when it comes to the Carnival Sunshine, a lot of passengers are looking to Carnival because their cars got flooded. Here's the deal when it comes to the parking lot at any cruise port. Carnival does not own the cruise port over in Charleston. Same with every other line. They do not own those particular parking lots. Yes, it could be a situation situation where those parking lots are designed for that specific terminal. However, should something go wrong, like in this particular case, you have cars that are flooded now and they won't start up. You have to figure out which towing company to call to get it towed to the right place so it can either get fixed or towed back home. It is a mess. However, that is a personal problem, unfortunately, as people now have to go through their insurance, and Carnival has stated that they're doing their best to kind of help the passengers get whatever it is that they need. However, that is kind of, in a sense, out of their jurisdiction, so to speak. When it comes to the MSC Meraviglia, it was planning on a cruise out of New York going to the Bahamas, and it had to make a big change at the last possible second. You have passengers that were planning this cruise for over a year, and instead of wearing bikinis over in the Bahamas, they're now going to be wearing thick jackets in the snow, and they are not happy about it.
Shared their surprise.
Today is crazy. Wind blowing, cold, like officially cold.
Best friends Lakia Allen and Val Montgomery spent a year planning this Christmas trip for friends and family and couldn't believe their warm island getaway was a cold weather expedition.
We thought we were being punked,
but it's just like Boston, Bahamas, yeah. Boston. Like,
it's a big difference.
It's a huge difference.
Yes.
When it comes to the three situations, out of which being with the MSC Meraviglia, the Carnival Freedom, or Margaritaville at Sea, is that cruise lines have a clause in their fine print. It doesn't matter if they end up having to do a cruise to nowhere, or they end up being stuck somewhere for a couple days, or they end up changing the full itinerary at the last possible second. You sign a contract whenever you book the cruise stating that if there is some type of itinerary change or you miss a port, technically the cruise lines are not obligated to compensate you. Now, for business reasons and to keep their customers happy, a lot of times the cruise lines do bend over backwards and go out of their way to compensate. However, they are not obligated to should they have to make an immediate change due to things like weather. I know it doesn't exactly sound fair. You've paid a lot of money, potentially upwards of thousands of dollars, some people tens of thousands, and the plans that you had set in place didn't exactly work out. However, unfortunately, the world is not fair. This is business, and in these particular cases, all of them really, it comes down to a situation and an issue of safety. There are people that are mad about all of this saying, well, I want my money back. Sure, I guess that is an understandable thought process to go through, but the fact that people are mad at the cruise line for not taking them into the storm and trying to get over to these ports is absolutely mind-boggling to me. For all of the unseasoned and new cruisers out there, as well as the people that don't really travel much, one thing you have to understand and keep in the back of your mind when it comes to travel is that things can and will happen. Some things very small, some things very large, and you have to kind of expect the unexpected and sometimes just kind of roll with the punches and make the best of it. To keep it short and sweet, I will also say to plan ahead. Not only should you arrive in your cruise port in which you are sailing out of at least one day early. There are some people that don't do that even for international travels, believe it or not, but you also should maybe have a day extra from when you finish or conclude your cruise. Why? Because there could be a situation like in this particular case that there is some inclement weather and the ship has to divert and they have to stay out at another port and you don't come back until a day later. Or there's just a simple fact that when it comes to a cruise, we always have the saying that sometimes you need a vacation from your vacation. You need to kind of stabilize and reorganize and relax a little bit before you go back to work. And in any case, should something happen, it is good to have that extra day available to you. That way you can recoup, reorganize, and fix any issues that might have occurred during your cruise. It doesn't matter if you're traveling by plane, train, bus, car, or cruise ship. Just try to give yourself a little bit of wiggle room should something go wrong. Make sure you have your insurance available and ready to go should something go wrong. I would just say, just be somewhat cautious. Don't be overly cautious and paranoid about things. Go enjoy your vacation, but just understand that sometimes things may go wrong and you might have to call an audible. You might have to make some changes. That way you can still enjoy your vacation without having to worry too much should things go wrong. But this is what I got for this video, guys. Of course, let me know your thoughts on this in the comment section below. If you were on board any of these sailings, like I said, this is unfortunate. My sympathies do go out to you as well. I hope everything gets worked out as well. And, well, this holiday season, let's try to keep as positive as humanly possible. I appreciate all of you guys. I love all of you, and I'll see you later. Take it easy.